This isn't an April Fool's joke. Ohio State had 4 players commit on the last 3 days of the month of March.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm normally not a person to talk about April Fool's Day before making a statement or even after making a statement. But when somebody hears 4 players committing over a 3-day span, they may think it's a joke. Buddy, this ain't that. Welcome in, everyone, to a bonus episode of Locked On Buckeyes here on Monday, April 1st in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And I'd like to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. During today's regular pod, we discussed and talked about why there would be a bonus pod coming your way because the recruiting weekend, it was massive. It was big. And there was too much going on to wait or to delay talking about it later in the week when we get Brian on the show. The Buckeyes received 4 verbal commitments over the last 3 days of the month of March. London Merritt, a talented defensive lineman that plays down there in Florida at IMG Academy, standing at 6'2", 250 pounds. He was the first of 4 players to commit to the Buckeyes. And you had linebacker Tarvos Alford. Brian and I actually talked about Tarvos at the end of Friday's episode, and I asked him at the end of the show, do you think Tarvos Alford will commit to Ohio State? I think I said will, but you get the gist. He was unsure, and he was talking to one of his buddies, John Garcia Jr., who also covers recruiting, and John was unsure too. When John covers Florida on a regular basis, so if John doesn't know and Brian doesn't know, then we're all just up in the air saying, what's Tarvos going to do? And Tarvos Alford ultimately committed to Ohio State. The next 2 players are actually high school teammates currently playing in Jersey. 4-star safety Deshawn Steward, standing at 6'2", 185 pounds. And then wide receiver Desi Jones, 6 foot even, 180 pounds. He's a 4-star wide receiver. Thinking about these 4 guys, they all committed to Ohio State for a certain reason, and some things that Ohio State did to pull them in that got their attention. When it comes to London Merritt, he pinpointed and talked about the development. Of course, if I'm a high school recruit, I want to go somewhere that can develop me, and if I'm a defensive lineman, there's nobody else I'd rather be coached by than Larry Johnson. Great. London Merritt to Ohio State. That was amazing, an amazing way to start off the day, or start off the weekend. And in the moment when that happened, I'm like, great, cool, that's amazing. I'm getting ready to go out of town for a couple days. It's weird saying Indianapolis is out of town now because I don't live there like I have most of my life. Went and celebrated Easter with the in-laws on one day, my parents on the next. And so that was on London Merritt on Friday. And then Tarvos Alford was committing to a school on Saturday. He had scheduled that day to be his public announcement about where he was going to play college football. Tarvos Alford committed to Ohio State. Deshawn Steward and Desi Jones also. Alford mentioned, and he said he always felt at home at Ohio State. And I think that is big. If I am someone that's from a different state, not Ohio, or maybe even I am from Ohio, and I want to go to a school that is going to develop me, yes, but I also want to feel at home while I am there. And that's a hats off to Ryan Day. I know I am very critical of Ryan Day, and I am someone that has a lot of opinions about what Ryan Day has done and my own thoughts about and opinions about what the season might be for Ohio State under Ryan Day. But ultimately, Ryan Day has done a lot of things correctly. And I don't want to gloss over that or sit up here and say, oh, that's not important or this or that. No, I don't want to do that. Ryan Day has done a lot of things correctly. One of them being cultivating a culture that no matter if you're an Ohio kid or you're somewhere around the country or around the world, you can come and visit Ohio State and realize, hey, I feel at home here. And that is very, very big and important for someone who is looking at a school like Ohio State to play football there one day. I'm looking at these 4 guys, and I'm really thinking about what Ohio State's recruiting class is right now. These, all 4 of them are really talented, really, really talented. If you want to look at national rankings via 247 Sports, you've got London Merritt, who's 101st ranked player nationally. I'm sure that he'll move up the next time the rankings get cycled and get updated. Tarvos Alford, number 63. Wouldn't shock me if he's a top 50 recruit nationally coming up very soon. A couple other guys outside of the top 250, Deshawn Steward and Desi Jones, it wouldn't shock me if they're inside the top 250 coming up very, very, very soon, maybe even top 200. One, Ohio State's offer and committing there does weight the way things are viewed. But also, these are really talented guys that I'm not shocked that Ohio State is going after them and pursuing them and got them to commit. Now, we say this all the time. I'm going to say it again. The process isn't done. You still have to pursue them. You still have to continue the communication and building the relationship, because if not, somebody else may send another offer and they may say, oh no, my recruitment's blown up. I want to reevaluate some things before ultimately, once again, deciding where I'm going to play college football. Don't let up. Don't take a foot off the gas, because if you do, you might lose one of these guys or multiple when you really want them to play football in Columbus. There's another player that made waves and noise over the weekend. This one was actually inside the Woody. His name is David Sanders Jr. Took a visit to Ohio State on Student Appreciation Day, and I got a thought about this kid's future. It's coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. My family always goes and takes a trip to Cincinnati, Ohio to watch the Reds and Cubs series every single year. And I always try to find the way and the route to get the best ticket value that I can. StubHub, but I've used others. From now on, we're using the Gametime app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This episode is also brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as a Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free in live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, and it's all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels lets you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. David Sanders Jr., who is the best best offensive tackle in the entire 2025 recruiting class. Last I checked, he is a number 2 ranked player in the entire class. And I'm not just saying that to just put context out there. If you're number 2 in any class, not just this class, but yeah, for context too, not just in this class, but in any class, you're doing something right. Because even a year where the talent in a class is down compared to the previous year, that does not mean if you're at the top or if you're in the top 5 or top 10, you're trash. That's not what it means. So for David Sanders Jr. to be the number 2 player in the entire class, that is big, that is huge. Over the weekend, he made his second trip to Columbus. The first one was about a year ago this time of year, a little over a year ago, when he came and visited the spring game in 2023. I saw a picture of him with Paris Johnson Jr. on the sidelines, chit-chatting, talking things up. Ohio State's in his top 6. Ohio State is a school that he has visited the least. And Ohio State is one of those schools that is trying to kind of turn the tide and fix some of the offensive line issues recruiting that they've had over the past few years. David Sanders Jr. also scheduled an official visit for Ohio State at the end of June. So it's not just him making a trip on his taking on an unofficial visit this time of year to Columbus. He's also coming back on the school's dime in a few months from now. That is huge. And for Ohio State to have that big recruiting weekend, you have all those guys out there making those big plays. You got Tyleik Williams and Ty Hamilton and Twimaloau and Sawyer and Hicks and all those boys on the defense going up against Luke Montgomery and Seth McLaughlin and Josh Fryer and Simmons and Jackson. He's out there watching all of them. And he is realizing, think about this right now. What he is watching with just the 5 offensive linemen that we discussed on Monday's pod that are the starters right now. Simmons, Jackson, McLaughlin, Montgomery, and Fryer. I think it's easily at least 3 of those guys will be drafted in the National Football League. At least 3 in the upcoming year. McLaughlin's going to get drafted. Jackson's going to get drafted. Simmons is going to get drafted. Montgomery, I wouldn't say come out. And Fryer, you know where I am with Fryer. I know it sounds very jumbled up right now because my thoughts I'm not really going that far and saying he will get drafted. He has to show me a whole lot more than he has for me to say he will get drafted. But for him to be there on that day and for him to realize he's already scheduled an official visit for Ohio State, I don't know if he'll be next. I personally don't think he will be next, but I am also not going to say that Ohio State is out of the running to get a commitment from David Sanders Jr. I am going to go there with that. Now, it's going to be a lot of work. Clemson's in that final group. There are some other schools that are really good at recruiting offensive linemen and developing offensive linemen, and some have done a better job of Ohio State over the past 5 to 8 years. So, I'm not saying he will be next. I don't think that. What I do think is this. If they keep pursuing him, they keep pushing, they keep doing the things that Ohio State knows they have to do in recruiting, there's a really good, realistic opportunity that this young man and David Sanders Jr., the best offensive tackle in the class, will commit to Ohio State in the future. I just don't think he'll be the next player to do so. You can follow me on X at jstevens07. You can send all of your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. We're out of here on a Monday once again. We'll see you next time.